In the midst of Chairman Simcha Rothman's duel with the opposition to reform the Israeli legal structure to make it less dependent on the judges and on the lawyers and on specific privileged interests of law families and in companies and investors which want to sway justice to their viewpoint. The view of Member of Knesset Chairman Simcha Rothman is to give more voice to the democratically elected population by allowing the members of Knesset from the opposition and from the coalition to elect at least 3 members of the judges' appointment committee. The judges' appointment committee is the center of this discussion. To the existing structure is that there are 9 members of the committee. 3 are appointed by the judges, by the High Court judge, and 2 other judges, which are approved by the Minister of Justice. 2 are appointed by the Lawyers Association, which is a terrible travesty because the lawyers too are appointed by the Lawyers Association, and the lawyers and the judges vote together 5 against 4 against the Parliament, which is causing only a very limited type of personality to be appointed as judges. So Chairman Simcha Rothman's contribution to diversifying the legal class of judges is very important. My meeting with him was about another subject, a complementary subject, a subject after he's done with this reform, which is important, but it's only the beginning of a reform. There needs to be, first of all, I propose a committee of 10 people, not 9 people, but 10 people, because that is really the basis of Hebrew law. The Jethro Mosaic idea of a just legal administration was the appointment of judges appointed from above, the Hebrew word, and thou shalt view from above, people of fearful of heaven, hating greed, loving the truth, and being people of valor, being all soldiers or people of valor, but young and active, they're not the elders of the people of Israel. They're active people of valor, with truth, involved in the society. These would be appointed as judges. And then the Jethro idea is that upon these judges there would be ministers, sarim, ministers, or the word sar, it can even be singers or representatives, or ministers of thousands, ministers of hundreds, ministers of 50s, and ministers of, and here it comes, 10s. And the word, the centrality of 10 to the Hebrew justice is just remarkable. And what is 10 other than a method of measurement? The measurement of justice, the application of justice of the judges to the people of Israel, to the camp. And that's really in the continuation of the verse. It's not really a verse, it's a legal vision, a very detailed and accurate legal vision that that justice should be given at all times. Justice at all times. That means that late at night and early in the morning, wherever it's required, at all times. The verse is very clear that the nation should be judged at all times. And that they should be judged and that they should be judged in their place, and they should have peace in their place. That means personal circumstances, not a law which is overwhelming, a blanket law, but justice should be given within people's personal circumstances so to achieve peace in their personal circumstances. So that, and to do that, there are ministers of thousands, hundreds, fifties, and tens, which work over, not under, but over. V'samta alehem is the Hebrew term, and thou shalt place on them, on the judges, ministers. So that is to assess the efficacy of their decisions and their ability to sort out problems. So the judges would also, in tandem, have the ability to access these ministers of thousands or of tens to in different focuses and different resolutions of the problems, to solve one issue in close resolution and another issue in a distant resolution, to order one thing to happen and far away in the administrative levels, and something in a close family or familial or personal level, that they would have ministers of thousands and tens to be able to affect the circumstances, the macro and micro circumstances. So that is the idea of Hebrew justice. Ideally, even if it was fantastic in the time of Moses and the camps of the 12 tribes of Israel in the desert, led by the pillar of fire and the pillar of cloud. So in my meeting with Chairman Rothman, I discussed with him the application of and the architecture of artificial intelligence aids, telephones, clever machines, tools, instruments, a toolbox of pro-citizen, pro-individual tools to really measure governance and to make sure that the individual is satisfied. Instead of the telephone enslaving us, we use the telephone to assess the services that we're getting from the government. And in effect, the telephones or these devices become the system. They become the government. And we need rules to control them, and the rules so that these devices serve us, and the information in these devices don't serve companies or profits or government officers or professionals who are making a living, but they serve the individual. And that the way that has to be structured is through a legal system, a constitution, or a protocol for internal use of artificial intelligence, individualized artificial intelligence tools to serve the individual will, but also inter-assistant protocol, that they share information in a way that is mutually beneficial to each other, so that they serve each other's problem solving and each other's will manifesting, and they're measured. All accounts, everyone around, especially government, is measured in how they serve and solve the individual's problems, and they're ranked in that way. The individual in no way is ranked, but governance is ranked. And I was proposing that this could, Hebrew law and advanced instruments can now really move very well and achieve a fantastic Jethroite mosaic vision. So that was my proposal, and to use artificial intelligence tools. And Chairman Rothman said that he believes that these tools should come from the ground up. in the free market. They should provide in the typical free market philosophy idea. Let them come, let the solutions come from a free market spirit, and people will come and find the solutions. And I argued with him that that was not the correct way, that these are incredible instruments, and that and just as the Jethroite idea to Moses, that it should be seen from above, and that these were like the pillar of fire and the smoke, and these were I compare it later on to the Mishnah, the tractate of the fathers, which quotes that 10 items were created in the twilight between Friday and the Sabbath, and one was the mouth of the ground that swallowed the followers of Korach, and the other was the well that came up to Jacob or to Moses in the desert and provided with water. These were things which were prepared in advance, miracles that didn't just happen, but they were constructed in advance of time to turn up at very serendipitous occasions, historic occasions, or repeatedly. And one of those was writing, and the other was the written, the book. Another one was the 2 tablets of stone with the 10 commandments in it. And they say that there was also the first instrument, the imprint, the imprimatur of the first instrument. And what does that mean? The plier, the original plier that was in the tabernacle, the plier that made the plier, the first instrument that allowed for instrumentation. If we think about these philosophies and the idea of the angelic work, the idea of the malach translated into angels, which the angels use master craftsmen, and the master craftsmanship is really writing and the text and the pictograph and then tools, and the greatest of these tools have turned to be those of artificial intelligence. And so the deployment of Hebrew imagery and symbolism and Hebrew law with these modern instruments is very appropriate. And so in my discussion with Chairman Rothman, Rothman, I described how I've been thinking about this and constructing a protocol, so to speak, parameters for many years, and as a proof that this was well thought out and recognized, I submitted the decision of the New York Federal Court of Appeals of my colleagues who sued Google for infringement of patents that they own, which partly demonstrate how this technology can work. And the claim is that Google has been using this for the last decade or two, these algorithms. Now, these algorithms can be improved and developed, but it shows that industry is using it for their benefit, whilst government must, it's not whether they shouldn't interfere in the individual, but in this case, if they don't do it, they're allowing the individual to be overtaken by companies which are using these tools and not allowing the individual to access them with guarantee that they own their own data, which is the fuel, which is the very source of how the instruments work, by using and processing and cross-referencing data, like weaving of a fabric. It needs the data to weave it. And the enmeshing of inter-individual data in order to serve us is what government must do. And if it doesn't do it, it lends a hand to cartels to rake the individual of their essentials, their wishes, their data, their imaginations, their wishes, their wills, their satisfaction. They're making the stations to individual satisfaction through them, whilst our government should be ensuring that and building the tools that it is without agency, directly through the tools of service. And so my proposal to Chairman Simcha Rothman was that Israel should lead the way with this great, impressive market for AI, in highly individualized AI tools to serve the individual and to ensure and to measure and to supervise the efficacy of government and of the legal system and of the court system and specifically of judges. And my proposal to him was that the committee to appoint judges become a pilot for how these tools would work. That the committee would be appointed not 9 but 10 people. And these 10 people would use instruments, clever instruments, and with those instruments they would open up the appointment system or the nomination system of the judges to the entire population, as the Jethro Mosaic idea says, and you should view from the entire people. How do you do that? You do it with everyone has access to their phones, and everyone can suggest the people that they want and they think, and then it can be opened up and people can nominate and they can discuss it and reason and in the contributions from the entire population. So in my conversation with Chairman Rothman, I proposed that this should be the way forward. To turn the crisis into an opportunity and to turn what is a scenario where the judicial system is in the air to creating a leading methodology to measure the efficacy of the judicial system and the justice of the judicial system and the intelligence of it and the effects of it on the population. How, now that we have a long-term instruments to measure time and the detailed timeline of people's activities, especially judges' activities, the forefront of the intellectual human instruments. Now we can measure how effective they are in bringing justice, if they're right or wrong. Often things over time will be clear if they were right or wrong, and if they've brought peace to the place, to the people. So, and if they have negligently allowed for people and their circumstances to fall through the system and people to suffer because of their incompetency or the lack of a comprehensive method of solving disputes and bringing peace to individuals. So to turn a situation into an opportunity where justice can be measured, and there's no better way than the justice to be measured than the way that was really articulated by the Jethro Mosaic idea of measuring the judges in 10. So the use of artificial intelligence, personalized artificial intelligence tools, it's got double usage. To serve the individual to their exact personalized, circumstance-driven wishes, and on the other hand, to measure the efficacy of government, not only of government, but also to take it a step further, to measure the efficacy of the justice system, to serve the individual and to bring about justice and happiness and satisfaction, which is the reason why they are there. At that point, Chairman Rothman maybe thought that I was getting ahead of myself and that maybe they were too early. It's too early to do this. And I suggested that this was not only too early, but it is required to do it now, urgently, in order to ensure that, one, our data is not stolen, and the basic transitional period from the digital, from the age of books and the age of writing to the digital era is not captured and held ransom by companies, but rather that there is a connection, a bridge into that period of time, which is increasingly going to be forgotten. And that the Israeli Knesset, the legislative, builds the tools and orders the tools in a way which is highly sensitive to the human condition, to all the great ideals that have been known and described in Judaism and in all the annals of the universal wisdom. To record this as like the wise of Yavne that recorded the oral tradition into the Mishnah and into the Talmud, to create a Talmud for artificial intelligence to serve the individual and the individual imagination in high resolution, whilst measuring the efficacy of all the instruments and all the bureaucrats and the judges to do that. And I propose that this is the future of the high-tech market, of the artificial intelligence market. And people are now estimating this market to be at $20 or $26 trillion. It is the greatest market on earth, how these instruments are going to be used. And it will revolutionize everything. And Israel must act now in strides of valor, just like Moses and Jethro, in great heroic ability to conceptualize that the entire society is going to change, and a system, an architecture that will benefit everyone needs to be put into place. And Israel should be the head and not the tail of this movement. And so at this point, Chairman Rothman called the end of the meeting, and I am waiting for him to collaborate with me. And I call on anyone who knows Chairman Rothman to turn to him and to tell him to cooperate with this great reconstruction of the ideals of Judaism and of universal principles in a digital age, and to ensure that AI serves the individual in a loyal way to individual satisfaction, and that they are not used by companies at the expense of individual liberties. So my call to Chairman Rothman and to other legislators of the Israeli Knesset to come together into a group, a shared group, into a lobby group, to work out the methodology and to carry out research and to legislate a framework where individuals will benefit in a way that has till now has been impossible to conceive, and that Israel should be the leader of this, and that we can export this technology to all the governments, all the democratic and enlightened governments, and that the world can be the testament that Israel has brought great things, justice and kindness and blessings to the world.